Therefore, whatever appears on the television screen emerges as raw experience for those who watch it. Therefore, television is reality, and reality is less than television.
Videodrome. The future of porn. Where does one begin with a movie like Videodrome? Videodrome is this crazy, bizarre, and just plain weird movie directed by David Cronenberg. And basically, right off the bat, I gotta say this is Cronenberg's best movie, without a doubt. And when I was viewing his filmography for the first time, I saved Videodrome to the last because I've heard that was his best, and it definitely lived up to the hype. And recently, I showed this film at a weird movie night with my friends, and it was very well received. It played with everyone's minds, and that was exactly what I was going for. And it's just a great film. So that's my opinion right off the bat. So what is Videodrome about? Videodrome is about this man named Max Wren. It's played by James Wood, and he is the owner, the president of this TV channel in Toronto called Civic TV.
Civic TV, the one you take to bed with you.
And this is actually based off of the actual TV channel, which is still, I can still go onto it on my TV myself, City TV, which is a Toronto-based channel, and it was the inspiration for this movie because apparently during the 70s they used to play softcore pornography on late nights on City TV, which is why I'm proud to be Canadian. Anyways, so this guy, Max Wren, he's trying to find new content to air on his channel, specifically new pornography to air late night. And pretty much he finds this pirated film, which could potentially be a snuff film, and it's basically just pretty much torture, and it's really gritty. It's just really gritty and grainy, and low budget. You can tell it's pretty much just torture, and he's drawn into it because there's no plot, no character developed, no nothing. It's just straight out torture, and it's just the hard-edged new pornography he was looking for to bring them into the future, pretty much. And so at the first third of the movie, that kind of plays like this neo-noir film about this man who's going to be dragged down deep into the underground society of the snuff filmmakers, but it actually starts to turn into something totally different and totally bizarre, and it's almost like there's two different movies in the same movie, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The tone of it, this atmosphere, this kind of brooding, slow build of an atmosphere kind of maintains throughout the film, even though during the last third of the film, things kind of move at a breakneck speed as all these strange occurrences start happening. And it does flow, but it definitely does kind of seem like it's going in a totally different direction, which is not a bad thing in this case. I think it works in this movie. The thing that's dangerous about Videodrome is that it has a philosophy, and that philosophy is still relevant today, even though we don't use these anymore as much as we used to. Most of us, not at all. And this isn't Videodrome, by the way. This is Toy Story, but just to be clear. And that's what the character of Marsha says to Max Wren as he's trying to discover the origins of this Videodrome. And the actual movie itself, Videodrome, and I should have mentioned earlier that this snuff pornography video that he finds is called the Videodrome within the movie Videodrome, just to be clear on that. Also kind of has this philosophy, and it's very heady, very almost a little pretentious and it kind of states its philosophy through this Professor Oblivion, who's kind of a philosopher on the subject and who leads this sort of, it's not really a religion, but it's like a rehab center for people who haven't watched enough TV. It's like a homeless shelter for people who are unable to watch TV. That's the only way I can describe this cathode ray mission, which this Professor Oblivion has invented. And what Professor Oblivion says at one point is that reality is what we see on the screen. And it's pretty much about how we are being brainwashed by the video audio media form, especially by what we see on TV, in the media, in news, in pretty much everything. We just absorb it, and this is still relevant today. If Cronenberg were to have made Videodrome in 2016, I bet you it would be about the screen of people's iPads or computers, and it would probably still be about the visual media, because people do tend to look for videos and stuff. Though there is lots of other media on the internet, such as text, audio, all this stuff which we're just absorbing and filling our heads with and trying to make our own opinions out of it. And pretty much what the point of Videodrome is that we absorb all these opinions around us, and really our own opinion isn't our own. It's just reiteration of what we see on the TV screen. And I know for a fact myself that in preparing for this review, I rewatched the movie, and since even though I rewatched the movie, it's been still a while since I rewatched the movie. It's been about a month, I would say. I've been looking at clips online, looking at comments, looking on the IMDb message boards, reading reviews, watching reviews, and I know for a fact that a bunch of the things I'm saying in this review right now are just reiterations of the stuff that I have consumed online, and I'm just gonna throw it all up right onto this video screen for you to listen, for you to consume as well. And that's pretty much the beauty of video. So what begins to happen to Max Wren is that he's exposed to this signal that Videodrome puts out, and this signal causes physical effects in his brain. And I don't really want to go too much into the details on what happens in the last half of the movie to spoil the fun for you if you haven't watched the movie. And I don't really need to, though I will mention specific things, specific images inside the movie, which you might not want to know about if you haven't watched it and you're going to go for it the first time. So, yeah. Please watch the movie if you want to be completely non-spoiler. So, pretty much what happens is that he's exposed to this signal and he develops a tumor in his brain, and he starts having these hallucinations. And just like Dr. Oblivion said about reality being what we see in the screen, we are not exactly sure about what really is happening in reality anymore. And especially at the very end, we see something on a TV screen actually become reality. And it's difficult to understand what is actually real and what actually is happening to Max Wren in the final third of the movie, and what's happening to the people around him. Over the course of the movie, Max Wren literally becomes a video cassette player, and he actually literally consumes this programming, this cassette, inside the slit in his stomach. And he pretty much consumes this, and he pretty much acts via this programming. And at one point, that cassette is taken out and another one is put back in, and his whole motivations, everything completely changed from killing one group of people to killing the other, and he's being manipulated as this pawn by these people who are familiar with Videodrome and who have kind of helped create Videodrome. I'm barely scratching the surface here, really. It's I'm returning to that quote again the third time about how what we see with our eyes, reality is just what we see with our eyes. So if we're looking at a screen, that is reality. And we're intaking everything we see as reality. And this is also everywhere throughout the movie. There's TV screens. The first scene of the movie is looking straight at a TV screen, and we pan out of the TV screen, and it's this woman who works with Max Wren giving him a wake-up call. He puts a cassette in, and somehow the TV has a timer, and it gives him this wake-up call, and she's talking to him, telling him about what he has to do today, his meetings, whatever, what have you. And there's another character who sells glasses, and the whole point of glasses is to see more clearly, and there's all these other references to sight. And this kind of reminds me of the works of Philip K. Dick and his more philosophical works such as Valis, which deal with his own experience with how he himself had the experience of coming into contact with God or a supreme being, and just this thing about how we make our own reality, really, and reality is only what's in front of us. There's no other reality other than that. I don't know if Videodrome is exactly saying that, but it's definitely saying that what you see is real, and that's that. So whatever you see on a TV screen is real. And of course, Max Ren in one of the most iconic images from the movie actually merges with a TV screen. And that brings me to the special effects. And I'm just going to end off this review talking about the other things about the movie which make the movie a movie, other than the plot and its whole philosophy, such as the characters, the actors. There's there's lots of interesting characters in this movie. We have Max Ren, of course, who we see go from this uh, this ambitious kind of level-headed man, and we see him devolve into this programmed, brainwashed mannequin. I guess you can say our robot would make more sense because you can actually program a robot, not a mannequin. And we have his girlfriend who isn't really a character in herself. She's not really developed as a character. She's becomes the image in the screen, which pretty much serves as Max's motivation and which tells him what to do. And in that way, it's kind of the also turns into just a pawn of the brainwashers who supposedly stole her image while they tortured her in Videodrome like fashion. Though we don't really know if that's even true. There's also another bunch of minor characters which are actually quite well drawn in, even though they're minor, such as Marsha, the aging porn star, who confronts Max and who warns him about the dangers of Videodrome and how it has a philosophy. And there's also the pirate, who I think is the least notable character and the weakest character, really. And the sinister, kind of little underused mastermind behind Videodrome, though I'm not sure if he's the mastermind, the man who sells glasses, and of course the other main characters are Professor Oblivion, who we don't actually see in the flesh, only on video, and his daughter, who also becomes one of Max's brainwashers, but to a different purpose. The acting is quite alright. I'm not very good at judging acting in a movie. I usually look at movies as a director's movie, not as an actor's movie, but I'm usually able to tell when acting is quite bad. And I think in Cronenberg movies, there's this specific brand of acting which it's not exactly bad acting, but it just feels a little off. And it kind of reminds you that you're just watching a movie and that what's happening is not real. A specific movie which is actually very closely related to Videodrome is like, it's almost like continuation, not continuation, but a reiteration of Videodrome in a more fun popcorn movie way, is Cronenberg's Existenz. And the acting in that movie seems really off, but it kind of works in that it just doesn't feel real. But the acting in this movie is quite good. It's not there's nothing wrong with it, but there's no Oscar-winning monologues because it doesn't need any Oscar-winning monologues. The special effects in this movie are fantastic. It's spectacular just to think of what they can do with these practical special effects. And the movie overall is very violent and disturbing with awkward sex scenes, as is per usual with David Cronenberg films. So I guess you can take that as a warning if you haven't already watched the film. All in all, Videodrome is an amazing film. David Cronenberg really this is really his masterpiece here. And yeah, watch it and absorb it. And like I said, I'm only scratching the surface here in what is actually happening in this movie. So I'm just gonna stop talking now because I'm not going anywhere. So bye.